So we're gathered here today not to talk about my mullet, although that is what is prominent in this photo and has become widely known in the industry as the Brian Klock mullet shot, okay? This is me and Willie G. Davison in, I believe it was 1992. I just finished that motorcycle, and that motorcycle is Iris, and that's really what we're talking about today. It's a 1990 FXR that has a long and storied history here at Klock and is still alive today. In fact, I heard it's out there for sale right now. So if you buy it and you decide you want to donate it back to me, I'm cool with that. I'd be happy to take care of it. Dan's correlation to this bike, really, as it sits, is it's the inspiration. It's how he became an employee here.
Yeah, actually, Brian had built the bike before we'd met. I knew who he was when I was younger. He had built the bike, and it was before we were together at Klockworks. And I don't know, I must have been, well, 92. You had just finished it, so what would that have made me? I don't know, 12?
Young.
That's the same. And I went to the car show in the Hitchcock Park here in Mitchell that they used to have. I don't know, they still have, but it used to be a really big car show. It was one of the bigger ones in this part of the state. And I would always go with my dad, and my dad's always been into hot rods, muscle cars, classic cars, and so have I, but they had a motorcycle section that one show that year in 92, 93, whenever it was, and I walked in there and I sat fixated on the motorcycles all day, and I think my dad was like, oh, here we go. He knew what was coming next, and I said, man, I gotta have one of these. I gotta have one of these. And so I sat there and waited and talked to Brian briefly at the end of the show, and ever since then I'm just...
Yeah, and so who's this kid that comes into the shop I'm working at the time? I was with Scott Studer at Palace Motorsports, and Scott was truly instrumental in building this bike the first round. I mean, really walked me through everything, and I'll never forget it. And Dan walks into our shop one day and says, our Scott's shop, Palace Motorsports, and says, I want to build a bike like that purple bike that you have, that Iris. I want to build one of those. What do I do, right? So that's when he goes and buys a brand new Sportster, and he had a waiting list, right? So that was part of the deal.
Had to save up to even get on the waiting list.
Right, and then...
Because I was young. And
and we told you in the last episode, I mean, the dang kid took the dang thing all apart, put it in his bedroom. His parents were not happy, and that started his illustrious motorcycle career, as you know it today.
Illustrious.
Yeah,
infamous,
something like that.
Whatever.
For me, I had I believe it was a 750 Virago, right, when I was senior in high school or something like that. And me and a friend of mine went out to the Black Hills, and we could be in Spearfish the week or 2 weeks or something before Sturgis, right? But couldn't go to Sturgis, not with my bike anyway. I was too young. And so we come down Spearfish Canyon, and there was a bar there called Screamin' L Rods. And as we pulled into Screamin' L Rods to get a Coke, there is 3 of the coolest motorcycles, and they're Ness Cafe style motorcycles. And the reason is because of the little cafe fairing on the front of it. And I have a little prop here. This is a picture of John Patton. This is the second rendition of the bike, but you can see this little Ness fairing, right? So Gene Slater, who now works for us, that's his bike in the background there. And one of those funny kind of deals that said to me, sport bike, that said to me, cool, like that's sleek looking, right? And I was kind of in between, do I want a sport bike? Do I ride a cruiser? What do I want? But if I could have a Harley, this would have had to look like, right? And so that was my moment in time where I set out that said, I'm going to have one of those, and someday it's going to look like that. I don't know exactly how that plays out for me. And I kept looking at him, and I studied him, and I started learning more about Arlen Ness and what a legend he was and his parts. And there's this guy, Jim Betlock. Jim was with Drake Specialties at the time, had the coolest little FXR project, and I just kept looking at his bike, and I would hang around that truck, and to this day those guys laugh, he and Ski and Tom Motzko, about how this kid just wouldn't go away. His daughter's the same age as I am, and she finally said, Dad, that kid just won't leave. Why don't you go up there and talk to him? So the bike's on Main Street Sturgis. Jim comes out, we start chatting, and he tells me all about this bike. To give you an idea how long ago this was, the fax that he sent me came on thermal paper. It was all rolled up really tight. I had to kind of lay it down. But it had every part on it, just like the Drake Specialties builds that you see in today's catalog, where they have all the parts and all the cool stuff down there. He was telling me about it, and he said, what I would suggest is go buy a police bike. You're not that fancy, you don't have to spend that much money, you can buy them a lot cheaper, and you're going to take everything off of it anyway. Well, I had 2 Yamaha FZR 650s at the time, and I sold one on the lawn of my uncle's house that week in Sturgis. Got home, sold the other one, went over to J&L, and Jim Entenman, who still is one of the owners, the J of the J&L, had a police bike. It was his personal bike. Had 5,000 miles on it, and I struck a deal. Brought it home and took it apart. My dad was just as happy as Dan's. Why would you buy a $9,000 or $8,000 bike, whatever it was at the time? It was no money now when you look at it, but seemed like a ridiculous sum of money to pay for a motorcycle and take it apart, right? It took me 2 years and all the money I could muster to actually put that bike back together. At the time, a Del Orto dual throat carburetor which stuck out and really ran like crap, but just super looked cool.
Oh, cool. Function, or form, sorry, not function.
It was a $500 part, and within years they were $1,500, right? So it was just crazy to spend that much money for a carburetor. Or Fernales shocks from France, or PM brakes, because it didn't have billet wheels, because you couldn't even buy billet wheels at the time. They were all mags, just stock mags that you painted, but it was cool to have those PM brakes. So a lot of the companies that are still around are still brands that I love and things I love, but that started my love with the FXR. And Iris was initially painted a Ford pickup color, which was indeed called Iris Poly. And so we painted it the Irish color, and Doug Brugman did the paint work over in Sioux Falls, and his brother did all the airbrush graphics on it. And it seems very 90s right now as I look at this photo. You'll see the Tor graphics as it looks like the Harley Davidson is tearing
the metal's tearing
out of it, right? It's kind of like lightning bolts. I feel so stupid right now. Yeah, diamond tread plate art. But it was the times, right? Donnie Smith, instrumental. I needed to get that bike raked, and I didn't know rake from a hole in my head, and decided to take it to Donnie Smith. And my mom had a Monte Carlo at the time, so the trunk was big enough I could put that frame in there. So I drove my mom's Monte Carlo up there, and Donnie meets me, and we're in the garage behind his house, and I walk in there, and there's this huge dude in there, right? Well, this huge dude is Rob Rell, and Rob still works with Donnie to this day. And so how cool is that? Here I am, 1990, I tear my bike apart, and I take it up to Donnie Smith's, and man, this legend is there, and I'm just like, wow. And the reason I got to him was Leo Hess at Full Blast, who's also a legendary drag racer guy in Sioux Falls. He and Harry Bunker, who has since passed, and those guys were influential in my life, right? They were the swap meet cool guys, right? They had raced everywhere. So they told me they knew Donnie Smith, gave me Donnie Smith's number. Donnie agreed to talk to me. I asked Donnie to rake my bike, and I had a little idea for doing this taillight that looked like the slots in the side fender vents of my Chevelle. I have a 1970 Chevelle, and I wanted that little deal. And Donnie said, I'll do that, and I'll trade you this, and then I'm going to give you this little idea I have for some struts. I'm doing one for the president of the Hells Angels, one for a friend of mine, and then yours. And super cool deal, right? Donnie Smith. Like, I had just handed over my frame to Donnie Smith. What an amazing, amazing opportunity.
Little side note here on I was sitting here looking at this picture of the bike with those rear struts. I had noticed them obviously the first time I was staring at the bike at the car show in the park, and then the second, Brian will get to it, but the second iteration of the bike when I was around, or we had started Klockworks, and I had helped John, or kind of helped out what I could rebuild the bike and freshen it up a little bit. I always thought the way the struts were built on a swing arm dual shock frame like this were the absolute coolest, which is evidenced by my favorite bike we've ever built. The Silver FXR has that exact same style struts, and my bike that I just built, I don't know, a year or so ago, still to this day, all these years later, I use the same exact hidden strut slide on rear fender style. I mean, it's still to this day the coolest way to mount a rear fender to me anyways. But
so to say that Donnie Smith is like our dad in this industry would be a true statement. He has guided us. He's helped our little shop grow to the level it is. He gave us advice. Donnie was the great ambassador. Like, he really just, he's a gentleman. He truly did what he said he was going to do and expected you to do the same, and taught us a lot about that. And yet his style was always these, kind of one color, simple bikes with painted motors and the right stuff molded in just the right places. So even the side covers, as we molded them in on the sides, but we kept the stock FXR side cover. That was kind of a Donnie Smith trait. And then there was this thing you could kind of reach your hand almost all the way through there. It made the whole frame feel like a bicycle, right?
Light and airy.
It's funny as you look at that picture and you just think back to what we painted, what we did. It had a Fat Boy solid disc wheel on it.
Which I stole the idea from my Sportster. And it had didn't you have a mag wheel in the front with painted spokes, right? Which I stole the idea from my Sportster as well.
And so the thing is, I think that's what's great about the motorcycle industry is just that you see somebody's idea, just like you see in the hot rods, you see somebody do a 32 Ford, and you want to do a 32 Ford, and you think, I don't have the money to do it the way they did it, And at some point you realize that doesn't matter. What matters is you do what you need to do with what you've got and make it yours. And if you emulate who your heroes are, you think somebody doesn't do that when they write a hit song? Look at Bruno Mars and all the people he is influenced by, right? It's the same thing today. It all comes full circle. It all keeps grinding around. And so now you see all these FXRs.
That look like this again.
Right.
Or somewhat.
Right. And so Iris really had set, that trend for our area, or at least for Mitchell, to be able to do this kind of stuff. So it was a really big deal. And so I'm super excited about, just rolling back the clock and doing all this. So probably one of the best stories about Iris, and it goes back to the mullet photo that I've showed you earlier. This picture, you'll see this little plaque right here. We won the Radical Custom in 1992 at the Regional Hog Rally in Kansas City. First show this bike was ever in. I had a black dually at the time, and I put it in the back of the truck, and we were driving down to Kansas City in the middle of the night. Had just finished the bike. We'd been thrashing on it for 4 or 5 days, no sleep, and started pouring rain. Just made it nasty, right? Had it all clean, perfect. It looked horrible. Got there, all the road spray and the gunk off the semis and the crap, and pulled in the parking lot, and then we found out that they canceled the bike show because it was raining. I couldn't have been more bummed out. My friends went into the hotel to get some sleep, and I slept in the truck. I was so mad. And a guy comes up and follows, and he's rapping on the window. He's like, hey kid, wake up. He's like, the show's back on. I don't know if you can get your bike cleaned up, but it's on. So man, we got the bike out, and I called everybody out of the hotel, and we got things unloaded. We got it all cleaned up and took it to the show and put it in there. We're so excited. And I decided, you know what? I need to go take a shower. So I went to the hotel to take a shower. When I got back, some guy comes up to me and goes, oh man, you just missed it. Willie G was just here. I said, what? He goes, Willie G. Davison. He loved your bike. I bet he stood here for 20 minutes, dude, just staring at it. I'm like, I just missed my moment. That was the moment, right? And I was so bummed out. Well, fast forward to the end of the show, and they've got, some bleachers up there and a bunch of people standing in front of the stage, and some bleachers like to the left side, and this guy announces all these bikes, and he doesn't call off my bike. And I thought, man, I would have thought maybe third, maybe an honorable mention, something. Sucks, right? And so I was like, that's a bummer. Like, I'm going to see these same guys in Sturgis in like 2 or 3 weeks. This is horrible. I was so crushed. So I walked up to the stage and I said, sir, can you explain to me kind of just from a judge's perspective what happened with my bike? He goes, well, which bike is yours? I said it was the 1990 police bike, the FXRP, the police one. Oh, well, I'm sorry. You really just, you really didn't do anything. Like, it has to be way more dynamic than that. What class were you in? I said, I was in the Radical class. He goes, yeah. He said, that's not going to cut it. And I said, well, could you explain it to me? He goes, I'd be happy to. If you want to bring the bike up, I can show you a few things. And I started walking back to my bike, and I thought, what a jerk, right? Did I not do anything? I changed that thing from axle to axle. Me and my friends worked hard on that bike. This makes no sense to me. By the time I got back to the bike, I was just flat out mad. So I turned around and I got on the bike, and it's super loud. It had this 2-in-1 pipe, Cycle Shack pipe, that was just stupid.
I mean, it's jackass loud.
Yeah, jackass would be a good statement. And so I was that guy, right? And there's this dumb kid, so I just like, rah, 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 things are cackling, and I'm headed right through the crowd, and all these people are dispersing out of the bleachers. And why is this stupid kid riding his bike, which is jackass loud, to your point, through the crowd, right? So all these people are kind of separating like we're parting the Red Sea or something, and I'm driving to the stage. I'm going right for this guy. I don't care who's in my way, right? Wagga, 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 wagga. I'm just loud. I'm that guy, right? I'm the annoying guy at the stoplight. I'm cracking on the pipe. Everybody's got to get out of my way. I'm so cool. So I drive to the stage, and Willie G takes notice of this, and he comes out of the corner. I don't know where he's coming from, but he come across and headed for the stage too, and he goes, "What's going on here?" And I was about to get reprimanded. And this guy, the announcer guy, looked at me and just started shaking his head. He goes, "Oh my God, Willie, I'm sorry, I got this." He's like, "Kid, you won the whole thing. First place, Radical Custom, toughest class there is. I forgot to announce your class." I'm like, "No way, like we won. We won the whole thing." But nobody cares now. Everybody's walked away, right? It's over. But at least I didn't feel so bad. Like, we did it. We built the right bike, right? And Willie felt horrible. So this picture that you see here, he actually said, "Come over here, let's go take some photos." And he stepped behind the stage where the Harley Davidson semi is in the background there. And he took pictures of me and my friends. And yeah, it's 1992, and I got a mullet. He's got rose-colored glasses and a beret, and that's where we were at. It's period correct. The only other person I knew that wore rose-colored glasses was Gene Slater. So that's another story for another time. But so it was a big deal, and then we went on to Sturgis, and I think I got 4th at Sturgis against some of the best guys in the nation, and really that was our goal, right? We just wanted to win Sturgis or win Daytona. We went on to do that, and boy, that bike really set the bar for us. We'd take it everywhere, take it to shows. Between that and then we had Dan's Sportster, and then Gene built one like it, and so we were a force to be reckoned with when we showed up. We looked like we were the cool kids, right? And so to emulate Arlen Ness, Donnie Smith, Jim Betlack, Tom Motzko, Grady Pfeiffer, and all the guys that had gone before us as hamsters, and for Dan and I now to be hamsters and to have built that bike, I don't know. It's kind of one of those sappy moments where you're like, man, I was that jackass kid going through the crowd, and now that bike's so smooth, and it did everything it was supposed to do. I mean, and then you look at this old, signboard, which is reflective, of course, because why would you use reflective white lettering? God, we were dorks. Well, yeah, even look at the logo, okay?
That's the original.
There's the original Clockworks logo. Customs by Design, Mitchell, South Dakota. Man, we had to have a clock, of course, We were
cool. Well, that signboard is for is that the second, right?
Yeah, this is 1997 probably.
Yeah, because right about the same time that Clockworks was started, founded or whatever, yeah. Iris was rebuilt to freshen it up, freshen the paint up, a little darker shade of purple.
Yeah, and that's what you see in this picture with John Patton.
And then Amber, I'm sure she can flash some photos of
this is the darker color, right?
Billet wheels and
right.
some new things, because
not just any billet wheels, those are Boyd's
billet wheels.
Coddington billet wheels.
Because when the bike was first built, or when I first built my Sportster a few years after the original build, you couldn't buy, really, there was about 2 or 3 different custom wheels on the market, and they were more race wheels than styled wheels.
Yeah, and this is House of Colors, thanks to John Kosmowski and his team. This is House of Colors purple over a lapis blue base, which, if you've ever been into our showroom currently, the X-Wedge S&S 50th bike that we built in 2008, I believe it was their anniversary, 50th anniversary, we built a bike for that. John Kosmowski dug this same colors of paint out, so we redid it again. Rumor has it that this color may make one more appearance for its final run in the Clockworks thing on Carly's chopper this year, I've heard. So pretty cool. Carly's building an Indian Scout chopper, so you may see the lapis blue base and the House of Colors purple come back out again.
The side note here.
Look at the.
Oh.
You might want to talk about those cylinders.
Oh yeah.
Look at the base of the cylinders on this motor.
Yeah, the base of the cylinders on, I love it. I've done it on any bike. I've got to have complete creative control on the motor since, but the cylinders, the bottom 4 or 5 fins are knocked off
Right
of
on
the
the
cylinder.
base.
Right in the base where it connects to the engine case, and then polished smooth, so it gave that big mountain motor, I don't know, pro stock motor look to it, and I always loved it.
And it was so super high tech, because I remember when we called Donnie Smith, I think the first time, or somebody, and asked him, well, how did you do this, right?
Yeah.
Well, you take a pliers and you just best off the fin and you grind it down.
It was we thought it was rocket science. He's like, no, take a pliers or a needle nose, you know, and if you can get a flat blade plier, like a clamp
snap
plier,
them off.
snap them off and just grind them and polish them. And
Here we thought this milling process and
No.
somebody did this fancy this, that. No, it's just grinding. Grind and polish, grind and polish. That's all there is to building custom bikes, kid. Pliers, grind and polish.
There's 3 photos of John Patton right here.
Stately gentleman.
Stately gentleman John Patton, and that's the largest number of photos assembled of John Patton ever, because John never lets you take his photos. So if he sees this,
I'm not taking a picture. You're stealing a part of my soul.
So I don't know how he feels about a video of a picture of him is going to be. That might be double negative for him. So I don't know.
But really, it's kind of looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, John. These were taken by none other than Gene Slater, who is now our brand specialist up front here. But Gene probably was wearing his rose-colored glasses at this time, and clearly it was in 1997. So,
And I think,
pretty cool deal.
was it Sturgis? It would have been the next year, Sturgis 98 would it have been, when we took it to the Rat's Hole show.
Right.
And Brian had some. Actually, you had to go meet with the hamsters or something, and so he left me with the bike. Preface this: it was one of my first years at Sturgis. Well, no, I'd gone a couple of years and went with Brian one other year, but I think it must have been '98, right?
I said, just put it under your name. Just put it in your name.
Put it in your name, and you know, I was young and stupid, and Brian was young and stupid, and the night before we were gonna take this by the Rat's Hole, the Rat's Hole show they used to have in the park. I don't know what time we had to be there. It seemed like 5 in the morning, but it probably wasn't until 8 or 9. But
Seemed early.
it seemed early because we went out the night before, and I don't know, too many beers, too many drinks, whatever. I mean, and man, we woke up in the morning to go there, and I don't know about Brian, but I still remember that hangover to this day. I felt absolutely terrible. But we had
Got to get in there and polish it and clean all that
polish the
crap.
bike. So and Brian's like, "Well, you want to enter a bike in the bike show?"
Got to do it, buddy. Step up.
Because he wasn't all
Dress out
about
of bed.
He's like, "I don't know if we need to enter that bike. You think?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we got to do it. We got to do it." And
He
he's
just
like,
kept pushing. I was like, okay, kid, you got what you wished for. Get your butt out of bed. Let's go into town.
and I was just polishing and laying there on the wet, dewy grass in the morning, just going, "Oh my gosh, why did I do this?" Anyways, but it was fun. And
What was really funny was when he won, okay? Because the announcer goes, oh, look at this guy. He's real clever. The Rat's Hole Custom Bike Show. And this guy's name is Dan Cheeseman. Oh, isn't he a funny one?
he thought I made up a fake name to win the Rat's Hole because the Rat's Hole logo was a big block of cheese. And I was like, no, really? And I stand there.
No, I'm Dan Cheeseman. So finally made him take out his driver's license and show it to him. And he goes, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. This really is Dan Cheeseman.
And so I go up and get my trophy, and I'm, king of the world, and and it's late.
Hangovers wore off.
Hangovers wore
That kind of
off. I've
thing.
been hanging out in the park all day, and probably ate about, anyone knows me, probably about 18 pounds of carnival food, at a deal like that. And so, and one of our buddies, Joe Cheddar, who lives out west now, but Joe was with, and Brian and Gene had to go.
We were together, yeah.
Brian and Gene had to leave and go do something with a hamster ride or
Right.
something. And so they let, Gene had a bike there too, the Dreamsicle, which we have pictures hanging here in the shop, which is another FXR.
Had this big velocity stack on it, right? This off the air cleaner, just had this huge cone, right?
Dirt funnel, John would call it, but
Yeah, no air cleaner on it, just this big scoop to take air in, right?
and Gene had put a was it one of them Mad Balls?
Mad balls are called.
Or
Yeah.
they
Had
used
the
to-
face on them. And
Like it used to be like a ball and it was like a kid's.
It's like a tennis ball, right?
A tennis ball with
this crazy face on it. So he stuck it in there as part of the show bike deal, right?
And to keep dirt out of it, but to show off. And so Brian and Joe, or Brian and Gene leave, and they say, "All right, you know, Dan, you can stay with, you know, see who wins the show. But once the show's over, you know, can you take the bikes and we'll take them down to the house off of Lizelle Street?" And I was like, "Yeah, we will." And Gene, the last thing Gene says, "Joe, you know, you ride my bike, but don't forget to take that ball out of the velocity scoop." And so,
see where the story's going. These two little rookies, hungover, now spent the day eating carnival food. Dan's the king of the hill because Mr. Cheeseman won the Rat's Hole Custom Bike Show, and he's got this huge trophy.
And true to form,
he's got to try to get downtown on a motorcycle.
And true to form, I've got when I take off, because I wanted to beat the crowd out of there, because I got to carry this trophy, like, you know, in a backpack, and I'm gonna ride down Maine with this trophy. down Main Street.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Gotta gloat. I mean, he's a really humble guy, really.
You know, I'm very humble, so I gotta every once in a while I gotta brag a little bit. But so I take off, and I said, "Joe, you know, come on."
He's waving at Joe,
and I'm riding out and trying to get out of there quick because it's loud, and people in the show, they're still announcing.
He's got this jackass pipe,
and so I'm trying to get out of there nice and quietly, you know, just mom. And I go down the street, and I get to, I don't know, was it Junction?
Yeah, right there, Junction, yeah.
Junction, Lizelle, and pull over at the gas station before I was going to turn onto Main to go do my victory loop. And no Joe. Like, no, where the hell is Joe? I sit there, oh man, I better go back. So I ride back in the show. They're still announcing people.
He's on the jackass pipe. Rah, 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 rah.
And so I shut it off and kind of coast in and park just outside the park a little bit and walk up in there, and there's Joe sitting there trying to dig that mad ball out of the inside of the carburetor because he forgot to take it out and sucked it right into the carburetor.
Right in. Nasty.
So he's picking pieces of it, but before he realized what he'd done, he had ran the battery dead trying to start it, you know, and just
And it won't suck in because it's got this Nerf ball stuck in the. It's horrible.
So we get the ball peeled out of there, get it all out of there, and now the battery's dead. So that's the Star Trek.
Oh yeah, no. So then they get jumped.
They get
a battery jump by none other than the Star Trek Enterprise, right?
Which was a famous
no joke. It's
Sturgis
a trike. Literally a trike that looked like the Starship Enterprise. It was the biggest, dumbest, craziest thing you've ever seen in your life.
And so, it was famous around Sturgis because it would just drive
up and down Maine. People would take pictures of it all day long. So not only did they win the Rat's Hole, Cheeseman's the name, they suck the Nerf ball into the carburetor and they get jumped by the Star Trek. Pretty epic day, really, as far as Sturgis goes.
And then, so now we're late, but I'm still going to go down Main Street. Because you're not going
to ruin my Cinderella moment.
Joe's not ruining this for me. So I go down Main, and I go down Main again, and I'm tearing up. And then we finally go over to the house, and Brian and Gene are over there going,
"What happened?
Where the hell you been?" And I was like, I say, "Well, I'm driving around town a little bit."
It's kind of gloating. I got this trophy sticking above my head in my backpack. So, yeah, there's even a picture of me on that bike in, I would say maybe 94, 95, can't remember. I was jumping jet skis out at the lake and I broke my leg. And so I had crutches, but I was going to go to Sturgis anyway. And so the cast was literally from my groin area all the way to my toes. Could not move my leg. It was totally straight, right? So we built this big old peg that stuck outside the Del Ordo carburetor so I could stick my cast on it. We took a piece
kind of like Chester from Gunsmoke.
We took a piece of PVC pipe, put it on the other side, and wrapped it in the same yellow that I had my hamster cast in. And then we stuck the crutches in there.
It's like a crutch holster, like a saddle sling.
Yeah, so I would be able to ride the bike and use the front brake. I could still shift, I just couldn't use the back brake. So I'm riding around Sturgis with this big, ridiculous cast on. And Gene, of course, looking at the world through rose-colored glasses again, takes a photo and sends it into Easy Rider. So that was Iris's first foray into a magazine, was the fact that this kid was riding his bike up and down Main Street.
In a groin cast.
That's a wrap. Klock Talk. We're talking about Iris, 1990 FXR, the bike that set the legend. When you walk in the front door of our shop right now, you look to the left, up in the rafters there's tons of trophies. That bike took them all. They were all from that bike, whether it was World of Wheels, whether it was at Daytona, whether it was at Sturgis. That was the first foray into full-on custom. And started out as a 1990 police bike. We're still a fan of FXRs. If you want to see all the little tips and tricks and things we did to that bike, certainly check out the Quicksilver bike, which is still here. We did that one in 2010, and it was an ode to all those that went before us. Really.
And in my humble opinion, one of the finest FXRs ever assembled.
Did we talk about his humility? He's such a guy. Thanks for joining us. See you next time on Klock Talk.